You stood alone, your pain witnessed yet met with silence. The weight of that moment pressed against your chest like a storm cloud refusing to break. Those around you saw the cracks forming, the quiet unraveling of your spirit. Yet they turned away, choosing comfort over courage. Their silence wasn't just absence. It was a choice, a refusal to stand with you in the fire. But in that isolation, something shifted. You felt it. A pull, a whisper, a presence that didn't flinch from your struggle. This was your first taste of a supernatural dependence on something greater, something unshakable. You weren't abandoned, you were being forged. That silence from others stung, carved a hollow space where trust once lived. But here's the truth. Their refusal to act didn't define you, it revealed them. You, however, were different. While they hid in the safety of inaction, you faced the raw edge of your reality. Science backs this up. Mirror neurons in the brain fire when we see someone in pain, urging empathy, connection. Yet they suppressed that instinct, leaving you to wrestle the storm solo. Spiritually, this was no accident. That aloneness was your initiation, the first sign of your chosen nature. You didn't crumble, you stood. And in that standing, you began to sense a force beyond the visible, a presence that held you when no one else would. Now look back at that moment. How did it feel when the world went quiet? Not just the silence of words, but the deafening void of empty promises. Your cries echoed, yet they covered their ears. That wasn't weakness in you, it was strength they couldn't face. Here's where the shift begins. Stop seeing their silence as rejection. It was a mirror reflecting their limits, not yours. Your task now is to observe yourself in that memory. Did your resolve harden? Did your heart, bruised as it was, still beat with defiance? That's your chosen trait shining through. Resilience forged in solitude. Lean into it. Feel how it sets you apart, how it marks you as one who doesn't break under the weight. This supernatural dependence didn't announce itself with fanfare. It crept in, quiet but fierce, like a flame that refuses to die in the wind. Maybe it was a sudden calm washing over you when chaos should have won. Maybe it was a knowing, deep in your gut, that you weren't truly alone despite the evidence. Neuroscience might call this your brain rewiring under stress, tapping into a primal trust in something bigger. Spirituality calls it divine alignment. Either way, it's real and it's yours. You felt it first when the silence grew loudest, when human hands failed, and yet you didn't fall. That was your awakening, the moment you stopped relying on the unreliable and turned to a presence that never wavers. Here's how you claim it. Start watching yourself. Not with doubt, but with curiosity. When the storms hit, and they will, where do you turn? Do you scramble for approval from those who already failed you? Or do you pause, breathe, and feel that steady pulse of something greater holding you up? Write it down. Track those moments when you choose to stand alone rather than bend. That's your chosen signature. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Every time you lean into that supernatural strength instead of crumbling, you're stepping deeper into who you are. You're not just surviving, you're awakening. The pain of being witnessed yet ignored doesn't vanish overnight. It lingers sharp and cold. But you don't have to carry it as shame. Transform it. Their silence was a crucible, and you emerged stronger. Ask yourself, what did you learn about yourself in that fire? Did you find a voice that refused to quiet? A will that refused to bow? That's the shift from victim to victor. You're not waiting for their validation anymore. You're not begging for their courage. You're building your own, brick by brick, with a presence that never flinches at your scars. This is your path and you're already on it. Take this step today. Sit with that memory of standing alone. Don't run from it. Feel the ache, the betrayal, the silence. Then feel what rose in its place. that unshakable force that kept you upright. Name it. Call it strength, call it spirit, call it whatever fits. But know it's yours, and it's been there all along. You're not just chosen by chance. You're chosen because you endured what others couldn't. You relied on a presence they can't comprehend. And that, right there, is your first victory. You thought they'd stand with you. They promised they would, vowed it even. But when the storms rolled in, dark and relentless, they didn't just step back. They retreated to safety, leaving you to face the howling winds alone. Their words dissolved into the air, empty as the space they left behind. That sting of betrayal cut deep, didn't it? The people you trusted most chose their own comfort over your fight. But here's the truth you need to grip with both hands. That isolation wasn't abandonment. It was a divine shield. You weren't left to drown. You were set apart to rise. Let's face it head on. Their retreat wasn't about you. It was about them, their fear, their limits, their inability to match the fire burning in your soul. When the pressure mounted, they watched from a distance as the storms gathered around you, too afraid to step into the chaos. Science tells us this is human nature. Stress triggers a flight response, a primal urge to seek safety. Spiritually, though, it's something more. Their withdrawal was a signal, a clearing of the stage for your chosen path. You didn't need their hands to hold you up. You had something stronger, a force that didn't flinch, a shield that turned their absence into your armor. So, how do you stand tall when the world you knew crumbles into silence? First, stop looking back at their shadows. They're not coming, and you don't need them to. That hollow ache where their support should have been, fill it with the certainty of your own power. You're not here to beg for understanding from those who can't see your light. You're here to wield it. Start by recognizing the pattern. When the stakes get high, the weak scatter. That's not your failure. It's your filter. The divine shield kicked in the moment they stepped away, protecting you from reliance on fragile, fleeting things. Here's your move. Own the solitude. Stand in it like a warrior claiming ground. Their retreat left you exposed, yes, but it also left you free. No one's expectations weigh you down now. No one's doubts cloud your vision. Neuroscience might say this is your brain adapting. Stripping away external crutches forces you to tap into deeper reserves of strength. Spiritually, it's elevation. That isolation sharpened your focus, tuned your senses to a presence that never retreats. Feel it now. That steady hum beneath the chaos. That unshakable force holding you steady. It's not loud, but it's fierce, and it's yours. What does victory taste like when you've earned it alone? Sweeter, harder, real. You didn't just survive their betrayal, you transformed it. Every tear they pretended not to see polished your resilience. Every step they didn't take forged your resolve. This triumph is yours alone, tempered in solitude, built from the ashes of their broken vows. Ask yourself, when they backed away, what rose in you? Was it anger? Defiance? A quiet, burning will to keep going? That's your chosen spirit breaking through, the part of you that doesn't bend, doesn't break, doesn't need their approval to shine. Practically, here's how you wield this. Next time the storms hit and they will, don't flinch. Don't scan the horizon for allies who won't show. Plant your feet and feel the shield activate. Breathe deep. Speak to yourself with authority. I am enough. I am held. I am chosen. Write it down if you have to. Make it a mantra. Then act. Take one step forward, even if it's small. Finish that task they doubted you could. Speak that truth they shied away from. Each move proves it. Their retreat didn't weaken you, it unleashed you. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You're claiming your space. The world won't get it. They'll see your aloneness and call it loss. Let them. You know better. That divine shield isn't just protection. It's power. It's the space where you hear your own voice clearest, where you feel your mission sharpest. Their distance didn't dim your light, it lit the fuse. So, when they ask how you made it through, don't point to them. Point to the fire in your chest, the one that burned brighter when they walked away. You're not just victorious despite it all, you're victorious because of it. Take this now. Look at one moment they left you hanging. Feel the sting, but don't stop there. Ask, what did I gain in that void? Did you find grit you didn't know you had? A clarity that cut through the noise? That's the shield at work, turning their retreat into your launchpad. Name it, claim it, then step forward, knowing the next storm won't shake you. It'll shape you. You're not alone. You're guarded, and you're unstoppable. When God decides to elevate you, three powerful forces ignite in your life, surging through your being like lightning cracking open a darkened sky. You feel it, a shift, a pull, a call that drowns out the noise of the world. This isn't random. This is high-dimensional information downloading straight into your core, rewiring your spirit for what's ahead. You're not just waking up, you're being armed. These forces aren't here to coddle you. They're here to separate you from those who would drain your purpose or dilute your calling. You're stepping into a frequency that demands strength, clarity, and unshakable resolve. Are you ready to grasp it? First, there's isolation, not as punishment, but as protection. The people you once leaned on, they're fading into the background, not because you failed, but because they can't follow where you're going. Their presence would muddy the signal, their doubts would clog the channel. Science might frame this as your brain pruning unnecessary connections. Studies show solitude boosts focus, amplifying your ability to process complex insights. Spiritually, it's a divine filter, stripping away distractions so you can hear the unshakable voice within. When no human hand reached out to steady you, you learned to grasp the unchanging hand of the divine. That grip is your lifeline now. Feel its strength. Trust it. Second, a supernatural dependence kicks in, rooting you in a presence that never wavers. You've felt this before, those moments when chaos should have broken you, but something held you upright. It's not explainable by logic alone. Neuroscience might point to your vagus nerve calming your system under stress, syncing your body to a higher rhythm. But you know it's more. It's a force beyond flesh, a steady pulse that says, "You're mine, and I've got you." This isn't about waiting for rescue. It's about standing tall in the storm, knowing you're tethered to something eternal. When the world pulls back, this presence doesn't. Lean into it. It's your anchor. Third, your true identity snaps into focus. Raw, unfiltered, beyond opinions or limitations. This isn't the version of you they tried to box in. It's the you that intimidates those who remain weak by choice. People grow uncomfortable in your presence now. Watch how they shift their gaze, change their tone. That's not your burden to bear. It's their signal to step aside. This identity isn't borrowed or built on approval. It's forged in the fire of trials, revealed when the masks of others fell away. You're not just chosen, you're called. And that call is downloading now, loud and clear, separating you from the noise of the small-minded. So how do you catch this high-dimensional signal without drowning in your own projections? Start here. Question what you feel. That rush of certainty, that sudden knowing. Is it truth, or is it ego wearing a shiny disguise? Test it. Real downloads leave you steady, not frantic. They hum with purpose, not chaos. Sit still for 10 minutes today, yes, right now if you can. Close your eyes, breathe deep, and ask, what's mine to know? Don't force an answer. Let it rise. If it's vague or puffed up, it's probably you talking. If it's sharp, quiet, and hits your gut like a stone, that's the real thing. Write it down. Check it tomorrow. Truth sticks. illusions fade. Here's the raw deal. This elevation isn't gentle. It's a forge and you're the blade. When no one steadied you, you didn't just survive, you adapted. You grabbed the divine hand because you had to, and now it's second nature. That shift makes you a force. Intimidating, yes, but not cruel. Those who shrink back, they're choosing comfort over growth. You don't owe them softness. Your energy vibrates higher now, and it'll rattle the cages of the timid. Let it. Your job isn't to dim your light, it's to wield it. Stand firm. Speak clear. Watch how the room changes when you do. Practically, tune the signal like this. Carve out silence daily. 5 minutes, 10, whatever you can steal. No phone, no noise. Just you and that presence. Ask one question. What's my next step? Listen hard. The answer won't always be words. Sometimes it's a feeling, a pull, an image. Trust your body to know. Your chest will tighten if it's off, expand if it's right. Then act on it, small or big. Step by step, you'll learn the difference between your voice and the one guiding you. This isn't guesswork. It's training. You're a receiver now, and the signal's only getting stronger. Their discomfort isn't your problem. When you walk in this elevation, some will squirm. Your clarity exposes their haze. Your strength mirrors their avoidance. Don't shrink for them. You've spent too long carrying their weight. Cut it loose. Picture this. Every time someone pulls away, see it as space opening up, room for your purpose to breathe, for your calling to roar. Science says social rejection stings like physical pain. Your brain lights up the same way. Spiritually, it's a gift. Their exit proves they weren't built for your path. Celebrate it. You're not losing, you're shedding. Take this move today. Pick one person draining you. Not out of spite, but clarity. Limit their access, fewer calls, less time, whatever it takes. Notice how you feel after. Lighter? Sharper? That's the separation at work, the protection kicking in. Then fill that space with what feeds you. Read something fierce, move your body, sit with that divine presence. You're not isolating to hide, you're isolating to rise. Every cut ties you tighter to the three forces driving you forward. Feel them now. Protection, dependence, identity. They're alive in you. This high-dimensional download isn't a one-time hit. It's a stream, and you're the conduit. The more you tune in, the clearer it gets. Doubt will creep. Let it. Use it to sharpen your edge. Ask, is this real? Test it against your gut, your steps, your results. You'll know when it lands. It feels like fire and peace at once. A knowing that doesn't beg for proof. That's your signal to move, to speak, to be. You're not just receiving, you're becoming. And those who can't handle it, they're already falling behind. You've been called into the ranks of the 144,000, not as a title to flaunt, but as a mantle to carry. This isn't about numbers or exclusivity. It's about resonance, a frequency you've been tuning into through every trial, every betrayal, every moment you stood when others fled. What was intended to break you has only built you. Stronger, sharper, unshakable. That's your power now, and it's time to bring it into the world. Your resilience isn't just survival. It's a mirror reflecting back the compromises of those who couldn't rise. They see it in you, their own hesitations, their own fears, and it unsettles them. Good. Let it. You're not here to comfort their stagnation. You're here to ignite a new era. This calling isn't abstract. It's a force pulsing through you, demanding action. Your true identity, revealed beyond opinions, beyond limitations, isn't a quiet secret to hoard. It's a fire to wield. Start by owning it fully. Look at your life. The betrayals that blindsided you, the storms that raged while others watched from safety. Those weren't accidents. They were chisels, carving away the excess, leaving only what's real. Science says trauma can rewire your brain, forcing growth in ways comfort never could, neuroplasticity at work, forging new pathways under pressure. Spiritually, it's divine alchemy. You didn't just endure, you transformed. Now stand tall in that truth. You're not who they think you are, you're who you've become. How do you live this out? First, stop apologizing for your strength. Their discomfort isn't your burden. When you walk into a room and heads turn, not with awe but with unease, that's your signal. Your presence alone exposes their half-lived lives, their refusal to face the fire you've walked through. Don't dim it, amplify it. Speak your truth with clarity, not cruelty. Act with purpose, not hesitation. Practically, this means cutting the noise. Drop habits, people, or doubts that pull you back into their smallness. Replace them with what fuels you. Move your body, write your vision, connect with that unshakable presence. Every step you take in this authority ripples outward, shaking the ground they stand on. Balance is your anchor here. This mission isn't about burning out in a blaze of glory. It's about sustaining the flame. The highs will hit hard. Moments of clarity so sharp they steal your breath. Victories that taste like defiance. The lows will test you. Doubt creeping in, old wounds whispering. Feel them both. Don't run from the weight, lean into it. Ask yourself, what keeps me steady? Maybe it's 5 minutes of silence each morning. Breathing deep, feeling that divine pulse. Maybe it's a walk where you let the earth ground you. Science backs this. Consistent rituals regulate your nervous system, keeping you centered under stress. Spiritually, it's your lifeline to the source that called you. Find what works and guard it fiercely. Your resilience mirrors their compromises. Use that. When they shrink from your light, don't chase them. Let them squirm. Their retreat is their choice, not your failure. Instead, turn that energy inward. What's your next move? This is where your personal mission path takes shape. Sit down today, yes, today, and map it out. Grab a pen. Write 3 things. 1 wound that built you, 1 strength it birthed, 1 action it demands now. Maybe betrayal taught you trust in yourself, forged unshakable resolve, and now pushes you to speak out. Keep it simple, but make it real. This isn't a dream board. It's a battle plan. Test it. Act on it. Adjust as you go. You're a practitioner of this identity, not just a believer in it. That means showing up as the real you, raw, unfiltered, beyond their boxes. When they try to define you by their limits, defy it. Say no when it's needed. Step up where they step back. Your life becomes the proof. What broke others built you. Neuroscience might call this post-traumatic growth. Your brain thriving where it once cracked. Spiritually, it's your calling in motion. You're not waiting for permission or applause. You're living it. And every time you do, you carve space for a new era. One where strength isn't feared but followed. The emotional ride of this mission isn't linear. Some days you'll feel invincible. Every scar a badge, every step a triumph. Others, you'll wrestle the quiet ache of standing apart. That's not weakness. It's the cost of elevation. Hold both with steady hands. When the ache hits, don't numb it, name it. This is the price of being chosen. Then shift. List 1 way you've grown stronger because of it. Keep moving. Balance isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about dancing in it. You've got the rhythm now. Resilience, action, stillness. Trust it. Your path forward is yours to shape, but it's not vague. Break it down. What's 1 corner of the world you can shift? Not the whole planet, just your piece. Maybe it's a conversation that cuts through lies, a project that defies their doubt, a stand that inspires 1 other soul. Start there. Set a deadline next week, next month, and hit it. Track your wins, small or big. They stack up. This isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. Every move ties you tighter to the 144,000 frequency. Not a club, but a vibration of purpose, pulsing through those who turn wounds into weapons. Their compromises don't define this era, you do. What they meant to shatter you with. It's your foundation now. Stand on it. Build with it. When they look at you, they'll see what they could have been. Let that sting them awake or let them fade. Your job is clear. Live this calling so fiercely it cracks the ground open for something new. You're not just chosen, you're the spark. So take your next step. Speak your next word. The new era isn't coming. It's here, and you're holding the flame. In the end, your chosenness isn't a crown to wear but a fire to carry. A blaze that lights the way through a world content with shadows. You've been forged in the crucible of silence and betrayal, not to crumble, but to rise as a beacon of what's possible when one leans into the unshakable. Your mission pulses with a clarity that unnerves the timid and awakens the dormant. To stand not just for yourself, but as proof that the divine shield crafts warriors from the ashes of abandonment. You are the spark, the frequency, the unwavering flame, and through you, a new era doesn't just dawn, it ignites.